GM, good morning. Welcome to the Milk Road Show, the daily crypto show that's as reliable as no one actually watching the Super Bowl at your party this weekend. I'm your host, Jay Hamilton, and today we're joined by Zeneca, the one and only, the guy who's been on the show many, many times before, and we always love to have him back. Big time milk drinker, this guy. Loves his milk, loves his milk. Today we're going to talk about Zen's short-term perspective. Is he bullish? Is he bearish? A lot of talk right now. Have we peaked, or is the bull just getting started? Where the heck are we in the cycle? We're going to get Zeneca's input. We're going to talk about his portfolio, get an update. Zen's made some changes, constantly making changes in his portfolio. We're going to look at what changes he's made recently. And then we're also going to talk about some trades that Zeneca likes. Meme coins, AI agents, ETH. What are his thoughts on ETH? Everyone's talking ETH right now. And then DeFi, DEFAI, DeFi and AI together, hardest thing to say, even harder to spell, but we're going to talk about some tokens that Zeneca likes in that space. Hey guys, in 2 weeks is one of the biggest crypto conferences. I'm talking about Consensus Hong Kong, and we've partnered with them to get you guys 15% off tickets. That's February 18th to 20th in HK. Some of the biggest names and brands in the space are all going to be there speaking. And if you want to work in crypto, or you just want to get a sense of what is the vibe and what matters right now to the builders in the space, which often gives you an edge on your investments, you're going to want to check this out. Hit the link in the show notes. Use the code MILKROAD to get 15% off your ticket today. People often ask me which credit card I use, and I use the crypto.com card, and I highly recommend you guys check it out too. Here's why I like it. No annual fees. You get up to 8% cash back in crypto, not in USD. You're building more on-chain dollars just by using this card. There's tons of perks and benefits. You get your Netflix subscription for free, your Spotify subscription for free, and a bunch of others as well. And if you're a traveler like me, you get access to lounges when you travel. So hit the link in the show notes, guys. Learn more. Check out this card. It's awesome. Before we jump in, if you guys want to do me a favor, please like or subscribe to the show wherever you are listening. Without further ado, Zeneca, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Good to be back. Good to be back.
Okay, bullish, bearish. It's today is early February. It's February 5th as we're recording this. How you feeling about the markets right now?
I'm bullish. I feel bullish. I think obviously there's been a lot of chop and uncertainty lately, basically due to Trump, tariffs and Middle East, and just like every day there's some big new thing that he makes some crazy announcement and the markets get spooked. If that happens on a weekend when traditional markets are closed, then crypto tends to bear the brunt of that. But I mean, if you just zoom out a little bit and look at the macro and look at the fundamental landscape of crypto, it is better than it's ever been by a long shot. Like, this administration has really come out swinging, saying, you know what, we are going to embrace crypto. We are going to create sensible regulation around it, which is what the industry has been basically just yearning for years, where they've instructed the SEC to be less sort of litigious against crypto companies, which, obviously you want the regulation, but they were overly litigious these last bunch of years. I think everyone can agree on that. Strategic Bitcoin reserve is very much still in the pipeline. The sovereign wealth fund that the US is creating, I think the people heading that up are big crypto bulls. So
Yeah, you
yeah,
better
I mean,
bet what's going in that sovereign wealth fund, right?
exactly.
Like,
Yeah. So it's just everything is so bullish for crypto. It's hard not to be really, really bullish at a time like this. Super short term, there'll be some swings as there always are, but I don't think I think we have quite a while left to run in this bull market, which, 6 months ago, I thought maybe we'd be topping around, Feb, March, April, but I think because of the recent chop, we extend a bit longer.
it's like, I mean, you've been through many cycles before. So you probably it's like we all have short-term memory, and we get into these chop periods, and it's like we all start to, and chops, don't get me wrong, I think a lot of people underestimate the impact of chop has on your emotions and your psychology. But because it's like it's like we could chop for a week or two and we're all like, yeah, it's cool chopping for a week or two. But then once we've been chopping for like a month, and I guess we did have one of the biggest liquidations we've ever had in crypto over this past weekend. As you said, what happens? Trump announces tariffs on a Friday, TradFi's close all weekend, and then crypto gets absolutely slammed all weekend because we're 24/7. TradFi will catch up someday. But it's like we all forget that chop is totally a normal thing, and it's not even in a bull run, it's not up only every single day. Like, let me bring up, I was looking at this we've you and I have looked at this many times before on the show. Uh, this classic visual, which is the psychology of a market cycle, and somebody this is CMS Holdings on Twitter has put a big red arrow and said like we're basically at the start of the cycle, uh,
Yeah.
and I kind of feel the same.
Yeah. I mean, I think I can see different sides to this coin, but we haven't really seen that. So like that euphoria at the top,
Yeah.
that hasn't really been there yet. Like there've been like moments of euphoria, like when Trump won the election, when he got inaugurated, when the Trump coin launched, but that was like very short lived and very much still just crypto native. Like we haven't seen the masses flood in and create, worldwide euphoria. So I think we are still a while off that, and we're still in that run up before the blow off top.
Okay, let's talk about your portfolio. What's any updates you made to your portfolio? Any shifts you made recently?
Yeah, so we were talking just before this. I'm going to be taking a few weeks off crypto. I'm getting married and then honeymoon stuff, and so like for a few
Let's
weeks, I'm
go.
not going to
Zen's
be.
getting married, everybody. Everybody go on Zeneca's Twitter and congratulate him. Let's go. This is
Yeah,
amazing.
thank you. It's yeah, I mean it's gonna be great, but it also is I don't want to be checking deck screener and like, shitcoin watch lists of charts under 10 million market cap for every single day. So I've been consolidating. And this is something that I like to do every sort of 4 to 6 weeks anyway. And it was just good timing and a reason to do it now. So I've been sort of like getting out of a lot of the lower cap, the higher risk tokens, and just kind of like I've had this thought exercise I've been going through where it's like if I can only own 10 tokens, what would
Mm,
they be? And like
mm.
Bitcoin, ETH, and Sol, that's already three of them, which I definitely want to own. So I've sort of like restricted myself to seven. I haven't fully sold off into them yet, but that's kind of how I'm thinking about it. I'm pretty heavy in ETH and Sol as like the two big major bags, which I've been for most of the cycle, but I'm more heavy in those now than I've been all cycle. And I've got like a decent chunk in stables, maybe like, I mean, say decent, like 10 to 15% of my portfolio is in stables, for about 10 to 15% in ETH, 10 to 15% in Sol, 5% in Bitcoin. So like half my overall portfolio is just there. And I think I came on before and said like I was 80% in memes and AI agents before. And that's down to about like 30% now, 20% NFTs is probably how I would split that. And yeah, I mean, as the cycle goes on, I think it makes sense to take more profits and get more into the majors and stables. And while I think we have a lot of room to run yet, I do expect the top to be in, say, sometime in the next year, probably in the
Mhm.
next 6 to 9 months. So yeah, that's kind of how I'm thinking about it. Just like really just consolidating into strength.
So, do you other than the majors, do you have any other what I would call like more fundamental high
Mm,
conviction tokens
hype,
like
hyperliquid.
hype? Okay.
Yeah, very bullish
Interesting.
hyperliquid. Yeah.
Wow. Really? Why?
The amount of fees that they earn, they have an actual using like a working product that lots of people use. I use it myself. It's just a good product. The tokenomics are great. They gave out so much to the community that's already out there. Yeah, it just the maths, it works well. And then also just on a I mean that's the fundamental level. If you look at sort of just the cult following it has, I tend to like to bet on cults in crypto, and Hyperliquid has one of the best cults and marketing, and people are just very happy to pump it and push their bags. As well as the fact that if you look at how tokens react during market crashes, Hyperliquid is like one of the first and fastest to recover. It tends not to crash as much as the others. Like on that big day when ETH dropped to like 2100 or we there for a second, Hyperliquid was like it performed so well that day, and time and time again you see it during market crashes. So yeah, I'm very bullish Hyperliquid.
Yeah, let me
That
just
yeah
show this. Let me just pull up this chart quickly because like this hype chart, I was
yeah
looking at this
that's
today.
crazy.
It's a great chart. Like
Yeah
all time high, basically a month after it launched, around $35, and pretty flat since then. Like it's dipped a little bit, but you don't get a lot of charts that have that type of baseline strong through all this chop.
yeah. I mean we've had some pretty bad days in the last couple of months. It just hasn't had that massive wick down. There's a lot of support for it at that $20 level. And so I think the downside is, you know, relatively capped unless, the whole market completely crashes. And the upside is very high. I think if and when things start to take off again, I think it should do well. So that's probably my biggest non quote unquote major position.
Okay.
And then it's things like virtuals and AI XBT, a virtual agent, Vader, another virtual agent,
Mhm.
Pengu as like my big meme coin pick. I'm still bullish on the Penguins and Luca and the team and everything they're doing there. And Prime is probably the other one of the other big ones I have, which is the AI cross with gaming, cross with now DeFi, DEFAI, which we'll talk about in a bit. They're kind of doing a whole bunch of things all related to AI. So yeah, those are probably my bigger positions, and then a couple of smaller ones still.
And so the way you structure your portfolio then, it sounds like you sort of structure your portfolio as like your HODL bag, which I know you said you reallocate every like 4 to 6 weeks. So you are constantly reallocating, but you sort of have your HODL bag, which is like, your ETH, your Sol, sounds like Hype's in there now too, your Bitcoin. Um, and then you kind of have more your trading bag, and that's
Yeah.
probably more like your meme coins, your AI agents, where maybe you have a little bit, you're more likely to sell, to buy and sell them than you are your
Yeah.
HODL bag. Am I correct? Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I differentiate it with, like, different, literally different wallets. Like, I set up a hardware wallet that's I call a vault, and it just makes it harder to like transfer in and out of. And I just send like basically just majors to them. So I have one on ETH and I have one on Sol, and I just send the majors to those wallets. And
Has
yeah,
Hype
when I
made it?
make
Has
profits in
Hype
other
made it
ones,
into the vault, or is it only the majors?
uh it's only the majors at the moment. Yeah, Hype is
Okay.
in its own separate wallet for. I called it perp trading back when I did perp trading, and I got the airdrop in that wallet, and then yeah,
Right.
so
So
it's just
now it's
still there.
just the Hype wallet.
Yeah, basically.
Man, wallet management. We should do a whole episode on
Oh
wallet management.
my god.
Jesus, it
It
is
is an
just,
absolute nightmare.
it's such a nightmare. It's such a nightmare. Which might be a good transition into DeFi. You know what? Let's take that transition
Yes.
into DeFi,
Yeah.
because there's a solution around the corner, which is DeFi, DEFAI, however you want to say it. Um, what are your thoughts on, let's two questions. First, as a user, what are your thoughts on DeFi?
Mm.
Where is it right now? Are these apps actually doing, what are they good? What can they do? And then let's talk about it from a investment, which tokens, which apps are you looking at that you actually like for investing?
Yeah. So from a user perspective, I made a tweet maybe a couple months ago saying, I have so many wallets I'm trying to sell. I would love to be able to go talk to an AI and be like, sell off all the, like, I have the same token in 5 different wallets, send them all and send all the profit to this wallet. And then, sell 20% of all my positions on all my wallets and put the stable coins over here. And then I was like, who's building this? And I got a bunch of responses from people being like, you know what, we're actually building this. And that's sort of as DeFi, DFAI was kicking off. Turns out a bunch of teams are working on this sort of like this natural language, chat GPT style. You just talk to a chatbot, an AI agent, that, and you tell it what you want it to do on chain in terms of trades and wallets and stable coins and yields and all that. And it executes it all for you. And obviously it requires trust, and you don't want the AI hallucinating, and there's a lot of issues there. But you can, people are working on this and developing really good products. And so from a user perspective, I think this is the future. And like, we always talk about user experience getting better and better and better. It'll get to the point where like your wallets are abstracted away, and you just interface with one, whether it's one wallet or one agent, and be like, this is what I want to do. You know, how do we do it? And execute it, and stuff like that. And so yeah, there's a bunch of teams working on it. I mentioned Prime before, the Prime parallel team. They're building something called Wayfinder, and they've been doing this for like years. Like they announced this a long time ago, well before this AI meta during the bear market. I haven't used it myself, but I know people who have the beta testing, and I've seen some videos. And it's basically that you just go into an interface and be like, "Hey, I want to buy a bit of this token. Just do it," and it'll be like, all right, you have, if it's an EVM token and you only have Solana, it'll be like, I'll bridge it, I'll buy it, I'll
Mm.
send it here, yada yada yada.
And have you
Or
used these? Like, are they
I haven't I haven't
actually
used I haven't used Wayfinder, but I know friends who have. There's
okay?
another one called Banker, Bankr, which I own a bunch of that token. It's on base, and I've used that one. And again, it's still in beta testing, so it doesn't do everything perfectly, but it works. It just it for the most part it works. You tell it, hey, I want to buy this token, and so Banker is good, and there's a couple others that do this as well, where it is if you're on Twitter and someone's talking about a token, you just tag at Banker and be like, hey, buy me $10 of this token, and it just does it for you. So like it's
What?
direct from Twitter. Yes,
From
it's
Twitter?
incredible. Twitter and Farcaster. Yeah. So it basically you can connect your Twitter wallet to it. But actually the really crazy thing is you can be like, hey, send $10 to this other person, and you just tag their Twitter account. And it creates a wallet for them and links it to their Twitter account. So then if they log in with their Twitter, they'll have these tokens that you've sent to them. And so
Wow.
it's basically enabling payments and tips and buying and selling and trading directly on that social layer. So it's on Twitter and Farcaster now, but I can see it going
Shit.
basically everywhere one day. And
Would
yeah,
would you
it's
would
just yeah.
would you trust it though? Like, would you put, serious money into
I
this
mean,
wallet?
I would with any new app in crypto, I start off with a small amount, and then as time goes on, as more people use it, as there's audits, as it's like the longer it goes on, the more trustworthy it becomes. So I would trust it with a small amount of money to begin with, and then build it up over time. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah. So
So we're not
yeah,
we're not fully there yet though. From like it's more
no.
there's some cool stuff happening, but it's still in beta, right? Like there's not a lot of people using
Yeah,
these DeFi apps
yeah, I
yet.
mean, there's Griffane is another big one.
Yeah.
Heyanon is another big prominent
Yeah, and
one.
man, and
Um,
from trading them, because I know we're gonna talk about tokens for a second. These ones are just get ready
oh
for the
yeah,
ride. Like they're up
roller coaster.
100% and down 100% in the same day.
It's yeah, these are very high volatility tokens,
Yeah.
especially in the recent climate. But yeah, there's probably a dozen plus teams
Okay.
building in this area now, and I think it's only gonna get more and more because it's such a great use case. Like it's an actual product that people would want to use.
Okay. So let's talk about tokens then.
Yeah.
Are you buying any of these?
Yes.
I guess
My
by buying Prime,
biggest
you're technically buying Wayfinder.
If you buy Prime and stake it, you can stake it for different time periods. Then you will get an allocation of Wayfinder, which I think was meant to launch Q1 or early this year, and I think they maybe slightly delayed it, but it might have been January and then it got delayed or Q1, but it should be coming out soon. That's the Prime Wayfinder. I think their token will be called Prompt, which again they announced a long
Oh,
time ago.
great name.
It is a good name. It is a good name. Banker is probably my biggest position, simply because it's just use it directly on Twitter. I've tinkered around with it. It's on base, which I'm bullish on. And from a market cap perspective, it's like I think it's at like I don't know 7 million now. It hit like 20 or 30.
7? That's it?
Seven, yeah. So from a risk reward
Whoa.
perspective, I think it is very good compared to like your Griffanes and your Hayanons that are like I don't know hundreds of millions. Which I owned some Griffane at one point, and I still own some Anon, but and I guess I'm bullish on the sector, but I think that of the ones I've decided to pick the most and stick with, it's Prompt via Prime and then Banker.
I'm just pulling up a banker's chart here so we can take a look at it. It's this one, Banker Coin, BNKR.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. All right, 9 million,
So yeah, yeah, eight
eight and a
eight
half.
million, 8.5 million market cap. Damn. When you see a token that's got a sub 10 million, even a sub 100 million market cap in crypto, and you feel good about it, like you don't find many like that. That's
Yeah.
nice.
No,
Why is it
it's
so
good.
low?
It's
No one else knows about this? To be honest,
more
I've heard of Banker a little bit, but I hadn't looked into it, so I didn't even know a ton
yeah.
about it.
I mean it was at like 30 million, and then as the big market correction recently, it dropped a bunch. Um yeah, there we have it. So it was getting quite a bit of attention back then, and then yeah, everything just corrected and flushed out, and it dropped like everything else. I think it's probably a little less well known than the others: Griffane, Hayanon, Prime,
Mhm.
slash Prompt. But yeah, I don't know. It's to me, it's why I hold a bunch of it. I think it's a reasonable thing to hold, and I had a call with the people building it a week or two ago, and they're really switched on and really trying to develop it into something much bigger. So I just yeah, I like it. It's definitely more. It was spawned out of like the Farcaster ecosystem, and so people there have been aware of it for a while. But I think if you're on Twitter, which most people are, and most people aren't on Farcaster, then you're less aware of things like this. And so that's why it pays to pay attention to Farcaster, because a lot of really cool apps come out of there. And this was sub 1 million for a long time.
You know what? This is the perfect CTA for. We had Dan Romero on the show, who's the
Wow.
the founder and creator
Yeah.
of Farcaster. We had him on the show. January 1st, January 2nd. We actually did a two-part show with him because we just talked for so long. He was employee like 30 or 10 at Coinbase.
Coinbase.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, at Coinbase. He's got crazy stories about like early Coinbase. Anyway, so and we basically talked a ton about how like there's so much alpha on Farcaster. It is, if you're willing to put in the time and the effort to be there, which a lot of people aren't because you're already busy enough on enough social media and life. But yeah, there's a lot of alpha on Farcaster.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a lot of the biggest plays in the last few months have just been spawned out of Farcaster. And that's the thing about crypto. There's so many opportunities and so many places to go. It's about opportunity cost and where do you devote your time and attention. But yeah, Farcaster it's just full of devs and builders. And so cool stuff happens there first. And like you said, most people don't have the bandwidth to pay attention to another social media app. So if you do, you can find some crazy opportunities.
Okay, what about AI agents? You mentioned virtuals and AIXBT. AI agents have gotten slammed
Oh,
recently.
they're
Like
down bad.
I mean, they just had such a rise. Not a
Yeah.
surprise that the bubble sort of popped on that one.
Yeah.
But let's talk looking forward. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really bullish on. I'm just AI in general. This cycle, I think, will remain the dominant narrative, and I think AI agents will also remain a dominant narrative. I mean, we talk about DeFi, DFAI, and that's all just AI agents at the end of the day. It's like you're interfacing with an agent that does stuff on your behalf. And so it's the same concept, just applied to DeFi. And so I think that the problem, I think, is that there were so many of them, and there are so many of them. And they're just like, there's too many. They just, a rising tide can't lift all of these ships. So you kind of have to pick and choose. It's kind of like the prevailing theme throughout this entire cycle is there's just too many tokens. Like altcoin season may never come. We may never get a proper alt where everything pumps. It's just you got to pick and choose and rotate. So I think that this is like the first flush out we've seen of that, where we'd had largely a lot of tokens rose up all at the same time, and now we've had a big correction. And I think the good coins will bounce back, and a lot of them will not. And so the way I'm thinking about it is, what are the ones that have like good teams behind them, good mind share on Twitter? It's a good idea. Are they? Do they have a community behind them? Are they going viral on Twitter? Do they have a lot of good memetics and just like that kind of stuff? And so like AXBT is the prime example where it's got 500,000 followers on Twitter, 500 million, and yes, it hallucinates, but it still gets a ton of attention and it memes on Twitter. And the team behind it is building different things out with the terminal, and so it's just that to me is a reasonable bet. And then I've got a few others as well, but for the most part, it's just picking ones that you believe in and just hoping for the best and riding the wave out, because there's going to be a lot of volatility in the next just for anything lower cap in this cycle is always in any cycle is going to be a lot of volatility.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, and obviously the your comment that there's just got to be too many AI agents. There's going to be even more, I would
Yeah,
assume, throughout the rest of
so
this
many more.
cycle, right? Like it's only going to pick up pace and pick up speed here. Does that does that concern you? Like how do you play that? Like how do you
So,
is that where you just kind of
definitely.
keep it simple and you just go for the blue chips, like the blue chips, the
Yeah, I
leaders?
mean that's where you want to get the picks and shovels. So that's where like
Yeah.
buying the virtual token or any other platform token. Like I think Arc is a decent one. AI16Z I'm not the biggest fan of, but
Why?
similar concept. The founder, sure, he's been all
It's a
over
bit
the
nuts,
place and
eh? Yeah.
imploded so many times. But I do think it's grown to be something much beyond him. So I know it's decentralized. I know the GitHub is insanely all that kind of stuff, but so I think it'll probably do well as well. But yeah, the concept is you want to, instead of trying to pick the individual tokens, you buy the infrastructure that is supporting these tokens. And ideally, they have good tokenomics like virtuals, where they go back to buying and burning the virtual token and things like that. So that's probably the quote unquote safer play. It's just like buying. radium on Solana
Mm,
instead of trying to play the pump fund trenches. Because every time a pump
mhm,
fund token is deployed, they create a liquidity pool on radium, and some fees are eaten up there. And so instead of trying to pick and choose those, you could have just bought the casino effectively.
mhm.
And so
Yeah.
that's the same concept with AI agents.
I like radium. I think radium's
Yeah, it's a
radium's
really,
a
I don't own any, but it's a really really good
it's a
token,
great
and
trade, and,
yeah.
the Milk Road Pro team wrote a report about them a few months ago, and definitely if you
Mm,
had read that report, you'd be pretty happy,
yeah,
right now. Although it's like everything, it's been an up and down ride over over this
yeah.
chop, but definitely it's done well. Let's talk about ETH. What's your thoughts on ETH? I don't remember the last time
I'm
we talked about ETH, but, I'm getting
I
everybody
don't
to talk
remember
about ETH
either.
right now.
I'm probably a broken record, but I'm still tremendously bullish on ETH. I think famous last words, but like I don't see how much lower it can. I mean, it can keep dropping, but like it feels close to bottomed out. Like I've said it before, like when the ETH BTC ratio was like 0.03, now I think we hit like 0.027 or something, which yes, it can in theory drop more, but I really we got to be close to the bottom, and I'm happily stacking and holding a whole bunch of ETH. And I mean, you have President of the United States, his DeFi
The
project
sun?
on ETH buying. Well, yeah. First of all, the World Liberty is buying a ridiculous amount of ETH, and
Yeah.
second of all, his son Eric is going on Twitter being like, "I think it's probably a good idea to stop buying ETH, guys. Trust me." And it's just that plus the fact that it still maintains such an enormous TVL of all of crypto. There's just so much stuff happening for it. More bullish L2's coming. It is, yeah, I don't know. It's somehow become the contrarian take. And look, the right thing to do would have been to swap all ETH for Sol 2 years ago, or Bitcoin, and but like again, the time is not now to swap out of ETH into other things. I think
Yeah.
it's a good, to me. It's a really good time to be, and I will own this if it's wrong. But I'll die on this hill. I think ETH will have a ferocious comeback at some point.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, we had Dan Tapiero on the show 2 days ago, and he talked about how simple it was to him. He was like, "I've just been through enough cycles, and I know the feeling." He was like, "And I can feel it." He's like, "I know this feeling where you get into an asset and it doesn't go the way everyone wants it to go, and they just get sour." Doesn't mean nothing happened to the fundamentals. Nothing
No,
happened to the long-term outlook. Nothing happened to the TV out. Like everything is still strong, but the sentiment just goes so far down. And he was like, and that is exactly when it bounces back. And he was like, I don't know. He even said, I hate a great line, which I loved, which was he was like, I'll bet you ETH gets more good news, like really good news. He's like, I could see really good ETH news coming, and then it'll drop even more.
yeah,
And that will be the moment when it bounces back off
yeah,
that, and all of a sudden will double in a 2 week period or something like that. So yeah, I agree. I think I just become more bullish on ETH the
yeah,
more everybody becomes a bear and gets upset. It's just yeah, it's I can't believe how down bad it is. I can't believe it.
yeah. It's shocking. I mean, it was 2,100 2 days ago. That was ridiculous
That
to
was a
me.
crazy candle. Yeah,
Yeah,
wouldn't that have been a
most people
nice buy?
couldn't feel that candle. But like 2,300, it was hovering 23, 24 for, you could have definitely picked up some there. Yeah, I don't know. It'll come back. It'll hit 10K eventually. It'll hit, I don't know, I think 7K this cycle, if not 10. Yeah, happily stacking ETH and continuing to hold.
We say that, like, I love even your sentiment as you say that. It's so like, oh, happily stacking
Yeah,
ETH. Like
yeah,
even
yeah. It's like,
we
yeah,
can't. There's so much like enthusiasm. I think ever since for the past 4 to 6 months in the space, like there was a real shift that obviously happened when we got out of the summer, and everyone's been so fired up. But ETH is the one I can't get anybody to get enthusiasm for ETH. Even the people that are bullish are still like, you can't
yeah.
not say it in that
There's,
tentative
there's
way.
always like there'll be like a 2 to 3 day period where it's like, oh my god, ETH is going for it, and you get all
Yeah.
happy and excited, and then it just crashes again. Like the ETH BTC chart is just sad. Because it's just basically a straight line down with like these tiny little pockets up, and it's like, yeah, no, and we just get whacked in the face again. So I think honestly, it's getting a little exhausting and tiring. It's like it's hard to get you get worn down. I think that's what causes people to capitulate. It's like it's not fun to hold the token. It's not fun to just watch it get hammered all the time and everything else outperform it. So yeah, I'm not getting excited or enthused until it truly breaks out. But I am happily buying more and stacking more and just waiting and biding my time because yeah, it just another reason that feel confident it'll do well, and this is not always the best logic, but basically all the smartest people and the best traders I know in this space are also all bullish ETH. And yes, sometimes that definitely doesn't work out, but it is just an additional good point of confirmation on top of my own theses that just helps validate.
Completely agree. Completely agree. There's so many people who come on the show and say exactly that, and I'm like, well, if everybody else is saying it, who am I to go against the crowd? Especially, yeah, I shouldn't say that. Like the contrarian take is to be bullish on ETH right now, but
Mm,
all so many of these smart people, yeah, saying as you said. I want to talk about stablecoins quickly
mm.
because uh, we get a lot of questions from our community of which stablecoin has the best yield, which stablecoin should I be in. Also, it's relevant to bring up stablecoins because Tether just released their 2024 earnings and they made, what was it, $13 billion, $12 billion in profit last year.
That's
It's
so
like they're like a
ridiculous.
team of like what, like 100 people. Like
Yeah,
what?
per employee, they must make more than any other company on earth.
Any other company in the world. Like
Yeah.
so like every what is going to happen with stablecoins over the next, like, it's already happening in front of our eyes. Like, guys, we've made it. Crypto's made it. Stablecoins are going to be absolutely massive. It's already
Yeah.
heading in that direction. Everyone's going to get in on stablecoins with the regulation and Trump, and it's just like people
Mm.
don't even understand what's going to happen. It's going to be nuts. But um, from a perspective of right now, in times of chop, lots of people are making moves, maybe looking to pull out a little bit, put a little bit in cash. Uh, where are you holding your stables? What stables are you liking?
Yeah, so I'm generally a big fan of USDC. I think that they're like proof of reserves and audits are generally pretty comfortable. They can prove backing and all that kind of stuff. Tether is also it's been around so long, and it's probably just as safe. So I stick to those two, and then I look for like where can I deploy them to earn good yield on. And I put out a tweet the other day and got a bunch of great responses. Basically, I think that there are two main tranches. You have the 12 to 14% yield range, and that is on Athena, Morpho, Spark. A bunch of places will have this yield where you just deploy your tokens and you get that yield, and it's quote unquote relatively safe. And then you have the higher yield, something like Hyperliquid's fund, the HLP fund, where basically you then are earning based on the trading fees of the platform as people get liquidated. So that yield gets added on top of the traditional stablecoin yield. And that's been at like 20 to 24% for the last little period. And it's safe in the sense that Hyperliquid is safe, and it is safe in the sense that you will probably not get rugged unless there's a big smart contract exploit, which is always a risk on any of these platforms. But it is more risky in the sense that the yield can certainly go down. It's not like guaranteed yield. It can drop from 20% to 2%. It can go negative. You can lose money over short time frames if people are making money on the platform and the fund is paying out. So it's kind of interesting that way. But if you look at its chart, it's basically just a straight line up with tiny minor blips in it. And so that's probably the biggest newer realization to me. I wasn't aware of it until a week or two ago. So I deployed a bunch in there, and I'm just earning 20% on that at the moment.
So wait, explain to me how you do this one. I'm not aware of this one. Uh,
Yeah, can I share my screen?
yeah, yeah. You share your screen.
If that's, let me do that. This is loading. So on Hyperliquid, you go to vaults up top here, and then HLP, the Hyperliquid provider, is the one you want to click on, and you'll see past month return is 20% APR. So I put 15K in a week ago, made $35. But if you look at the 7-day P&L, you can see the chart here, right? It goes up, but sometimes there's drops. If you look at all time, all of a sudden it's
Wow.
basically just up and to the right. And so this vault is up $58 million or something. And the description is this community-owned vault provides liquidity to Hyperliquid through multiple market-making strategies, performs liquidations, and accrues platform fees. And so basically, you're owning. You can own a piece of Hyper protocol by owning the Hyper token, or you can deposit into this vault, which has $500 million in TVL and is earning roughly 20%. And again, like if you look, there's periods, I don't know if it's showing yet, is where it's flat. There's probably a multiple week period where you're not getting any yield here. So there's certainly risk. And, as the market turns, if volume drops, it can go flat, it can go negative. But as a higher risk place to park some stables, I think this is a reasonable spot. And I'm planning on putting some more in the coming days.
So you just deposited USDC into this,
Yes, you just deposit, you get USDC into your Hyperliquid account via Arbitrum, and then
and you
deposit
can.
USDC.
It's liquid, fully liquid. You can withdraw it
Yeah, you
anytime.
can withdraw it. There might be a 4-day lockup period. Yeah, deposit lockup period is 4 days.
Okay. Okay. So there's a little bit of a lockup,
Yes, I don't know if that means that after 4 days you can withdraw and there's no time. That
or
might
if
be
it
what that means.
means
After you withdraw, it
is
takes 4 days to get your money. Yeah,
okay.
but yeah,
Wow.
but yeah, it's pretty good. You can see the max drawdown has been 5-6%. Just here. But
Yeah.
yeah, other than that, it's a pretty good option, I would say.
Okay. So you've got some in Hyperliquid, and then your rest are Athena,
Um,
Spark,
so those are the options. The rest is actually in Morpho, which is just
Morpho.
another
You like?
protocol earning about 13%. Yeah, but I'm planning on putting more in Hyperliquid. And Wasabi
What
is another
would?
one that has high yield, but the TVL is lower there. So I think as more
Sorry. Say it
TVL
again.
goes in, Wasabi,
Wasabi.
Wasabi.xyz, another protocol. They have high yield. I think it's like 18%, but I imagine as more TVL goes in, that yield will drop a bit. But
Hmm.
yeah, there's a lot of opportunities out there,
What
and there's
would?
actually
What would?
platforms.
What would cause Hyperliquids to to go down? So like obviously you would that would do while the yield would stay high in chop. Like chop is good for that yield, correct?
Yes, I would say so. Yeah, I mean, just anytime there's high trading volume, it should do well. I think that because it provides some market making to it, there's always the potential that when you market make, you lose money. I don't know exactly how that would work, but it just, if you own too much of underlying tokens and there's not enough volume and the underlying tokens drop a lot in price, then you will probably lose because the fees aren't making up for it. That's basically it. Because the other like platform fees are just that you can't lose that. You're making platform fees and it's just going up as more people trade. But yeah, it's one of those ones that you can't just set and forget and come back to a year from now. You want to be checking in every like 1 or 2 weeks, but well, yeah, every month. But it can certainly give you higher yield.
You investing in any of these of the protocols? I mean, obviously you're invested in Hyperliquid, so you like that one a lot. What about the
Mhm.
others? Like, stable coins is sexy AF if you ask me. Like,
Yeah.
like and that's where you look at like a Maker or an Athena. You
Mhm.
investing in any of those tokens?
Not so much yet. I am really strongly considering building a position in Athena though. I think that like as I mentioned before, like 10 tokens I want to hold. I've been thinking about that a lot. Do I want that to be one of the 10? I'm probably going to choose yes. The way I'm thinking about that holistically is like I want some exposure to like a bunch of different sectors, and so you have like Prime is like AI and gaming, and then Virtuals is AI agents, and then Banker is like DeFi, and then Pengu is like the meme. But I have nothing in like the stablecoin space, and like Hyper is like the DEX space. So I think Athena could be a good one there to just sort of get exposure to that side of it, because I agree. I think stablecoins are going to be just even just regulation wise, they're talking about a lot of sensible bullishness. But the business case and it just makes a lot of sense for stables to perform really well. So
Mhm. It makes. I mean, like I can't. What happens when every treasury in the world, who whether you're Amazon or Apple and you have a massive treasury of billions of dollars, or you're a small business, mom and pop small business, and you have a small treasury of like $50,000 or $100,000, what happens with all those treasuries are are thinking, okay, most of those a lot of those treasuries probably have some, you got some bonds, you got some simple low yield, tradfi instruments that you're getting, 3%,
Wow.
4%. What happens when all those people are like, what, I could get 12%? Like we took a good chunk of our treasury and moved it on chain just so we could hold it in stables because we were only
Hmm.
getting 3% in the TradFi world. Like, I
Yeah.
just think it's going to explode.
Yeah, 12% is ludicrous. Like people talk about
Ludicrous.
beating the stock market long term, and if you can get
Yeah.
9, 10%, it's amazing. And this is like 12%. Obviously, it fluctuates during the bear market; it won't be as high. But like, you're crazy to not put some percentage of your stables and savings into. Obviously, there's risks, but like the safer protocols, the ones that have been around for years, maybe it's lower yield, but you can certainly get more than you can get in a bank, and that is, and banks have risks as well. Above a certain amount, the government doesn't insure it, and yeah, there's always risks.
Then always a pleasure to get you on the show and get your thoughts, my man. Uh, Congrats to you and your wife. What's your wife's name? Or your fiance? Not
Rachel,
your wife yet.
yeah, soon
Rachel.
to be right wife,
Congrats.
yeah.
Shout out, Rachel. Way to go. Hope you guys have a great wedding. We'll miss you, but we'll get you back on the show when you're a married man. Appreciate your time as always. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Yeah, see you soon. Take care.
Thanks for listening in, everybody. Have a wicked awesome day. As always, if you liked today's episode, please hit subscribe and make sure you follow us so you don't miss out on the next one. There's also a link in the description to our free 5-minute daily newsletter where we simplify crypto for you while making you laugh. And if you're willing to step up your crypto investing game, we're going to also leave a link for Milk Road Pro. You get access to our portfolio where you can see exactly what we are buying. This is your #1 resource to help you invest successfully in crypto. One final note, this show is for educational purposes only and nothing we say is financial advice. Investing in crypto or any asset is risky and you should never invest more than you can afford to lose. Thanks so much for listening in, my friends. Have a wicked awesome day.